Now, turning things around won't be easy. What our Constitution empowers me to change, I shall, and I'll do it fast. But much of what needs doing will require the cooperation of you in Congress, and I ask for it tonight. You see, this Constitution does not make me the decider, only the proposer and the implementer. You, the people's representatives, are the deciders. I am therefore vacating all the over 1,100 signing statements imposed by my predecessors. I'm revoking Presidential Directives 20 and 51, which give me dictatorial powers. I ask for repeal of the misnamed Patriot Act, the Military Commissions Act, and all the martial law and special and dictatorial powers acts passed in the last 10 years. You see, restoring the Constitution means ending the imperial presidency and returning power to the people's representatives. But I warn you, members of Congress, if you continue to violate your constitutional requirement to serve your constituents, and instead serve only yourselves and the big money interests you are indebted to, I will go over your head to the American people and ask them to retire all of you, regardless of party. Now, we're supposed to have a representative republic. That's what Benjamin Franklin said we had, if we can keep it. Well, we haven't kept it very well. To have a representative republic, you need at least two things. You need to give the people real choices, not false ones, like between Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or sometimes Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. And hopefully, you need to give them more than two choices. The other thing you need is an informed electorate, not a brainwashed electorate. And this means we need electoral reform and media reform. Now, first, electoral reform. The constitutional principle of one person, one vote means that any method of voting which does not produce a paper ballot that can be counted, recounted, and audited as necessary is unconstitutional. I ask Congress and the states to return to paper ballots and institute full public financing of elections. Proportional representation, preference voting, sometimes called instant runoff voting, abolition of burdensome petition requirements on independents and third parties, and so working people can actually vote, making Election Day a federal holiday. Now, this will all be coordinated by my chair of the Federal Election Commission, the author of Black Box Voting, Bev Harris. Now, you may have noticed many of these changes are designed to empower third parties, because there is nothing democratic about a two-party system when both parties are owned at the highest level by the same powerful interests. I also asked Congress to quickly pass a constitutional amendment restoring the original meaning of this document. The amendment says, and I quote, "Corporations and other fictitious entities are not persons under this Constitution and shall have none of the rights and privileges thereof," unquote. And now, media reform. I'm ordering the Federal Communications Commission, headed by Bill Moyers, to immediately reinstate the ban on ownership of multiple media outlets. It's time for a return to family-owned newspapers and radio and television stations. Moving on to another subject. I've asked the Justice Department to indict members of the George W. Bush administration, including the former president and vice president, as war criminals. They exploited the 9/11 tragedy to deceive this nation into unnecessary and illegal wars of aggression against Afghanistan and Iraq. They abused their power, they violated the Constitution and their oath of office. The evidence of their guilt is absolutely overwhelming. We are also looking at the perpetuation of these war crimes under the Obama administration and whether their complicity warrants further indictments. Now, when I was sworn in a few moments ago, I promised to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes a renegade president and vice president. Now, if I or any member of my administration ever issues the kind of illegal orders we've seen lately, I expect the military to refuse them and to take action against us. Your duty to the Constitution far exceeds any perceived loyalty to any person.
Yes. Yes.
Now, speaking of loyalty, it is unconscionable that high-ranking officials in this government should maintain dual citizenship. Such recent examples of divided loyalties as Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, Philip Zelikow, and Rahm Emanuel will not be tolerated in our administration, and we ask Congress to make it illegal.
Thank you.
Good, don't be afraid. It's all right. Those of you in the military and law enforcement have also taken an oath to the Constitution. And you must never follow orders to participate in a war of aggression. And you must never follow orders to disarm, arrest, or incarcerate your fellow American citizens who are exercising their constitutional right of dissent. Those attempting to take away our rights have cited the phony war on terror and the attacks of September 11th, 2001 to justify their actions. But there is also evidence of a massive cover-up with respect to 9/11 itself. The official 9/11 report, tightly controlled by the Bush White House, amounts to little but a whitewash. I've spoken with both Governor Kane and Congressman Hamilton, the co-chairs of that commission, and they both say there are outright falsehoods in the 9/11 Commission report, over which they had no control. It was written in the White House by Philip Zelikow. Now, when you combine this with the confiscation of videotapes, audio tapes, black boxes, and other evidence by the FBI, it is clear that regardless of who was responsible for 9/11, the subsequent cover-up was itself a conspiracy involving elements of the Bush White House and the intelligence establishment. The American people have still not been told who was really responsible for 9/11. Dedicated researchers have proven that it could not have happened the way the Bush administration said it did.